was ambitious. She composed music. She wanted to become a singer or possibly an actress. She also had a huge passion for animals, and when she got to college, planned to study zoology. So, when you're 15, you don't really know what you want to do, so she wanted to do all those things, which, me too. Now, things are going great in Jessica's life, and then she meets a guy, 18-year-old Sean Thompson. Soon after this, she quit cheerleading. Her grades tanked, and she just became this surly teenager. And they were, of course, fighting and breaking up, and as things happen, Jessica's parents started to object to her seeing Sean, and her mom began arguing with her a lot. And it became that they just could not stand to be around each other. Her mom said, I had forbidden her to see Sean. I said, you can't see him until your grades come up, and as far as her going to college, which she wanted to, she knew that she'd have to keep good grades, keep her average up in order to get a scholarship, and her grades started tanking. She had skipped school a couple times staying out with this guy, and of course she was threatening, well, I don't want to live with you anymore, I'll just go live with him. And her mom knew she had to do something. Arguments between Jessica and her mother just kept escalating, and they both knew that they needed a cooling off period. Mother and daughter, with dad, of course, mutually decided that Jessica should spend 2 weeks at a local live-in counseling center for teenagers. I find it hard to believe that Jessica agreed to this, but I don't have any interviews with her to talk about it, unfortunately. So, on March 4th, 1991, they placed Jessica in a home for troubled teens called the Huckleberry House. This place does still exist, and I was like, no. My mom and sister fought a lot when I was a kid, and she never got sent to a home for troubled teens. Who makes this decision? So I creeped on their website, purely investigative, of course, and they said on their website, the teens and families that we welcome into our programs are dealing with serious problems. Issues such as abuse, violence, addiction, and homelessness. In nearly every instance, the youth and families we serve genuinely want to find a way out of their current situation and get to a better place in their lives, but they simply don't know where to start. Through our crisis shelter, family and individual counseling, community outreach, and independent skills training, we help them take the first steps in a better direction. Okay, that all sounds great to me, right? Okay, they're helping people, but I'm not blaming anybody here. I find it really, really weird that her parents would put her in this. I don't know. I just found it strange. Tell me down below if you do, because I think that fighting over your boyfriend isn't necessarily, maybe it escalated more than I found, but I don't know. I just thought it was really weird. Okay, so for the first few weeks that Jessica attended counseling at Huckleberry House, everything seemed to be going really well. She was making peace with her mistakes, owning up to the things that she had done, the problems that she'd caused, and on March 15th, she had an argument with Sean over the phone, and she ended their relationship. She decided that she needed to get out of Huckleberry House for a while, and she wanted to go shopping at the mall. She was last seen headed to the bus stop around 6 p.m. that day. This was the day before she was going to be released to go home. At the 11 p.m. bed checks at Huckleberry, it was revealed that described it as mangled, and just one sock. She still had on her ring and her watch, but she had a necklace with the word taken on it, and it was nowhere to be found. Jessica had duct tape around her hands and covering her mouth. Investigators pieced... I'm sorry about the airplane. Investigators pieced this story together, and they believe that Jessica was abducted from the bus stop or convinced to get in a vehicle, that she was assaulted and held by this person for at least 6 hours. And then sometime in the middle of the night on March 16th, she escaped from her attacker or attackers and ran towards the cemetery. Evidence showed she hid behind several of the tombstones. One of her socks and a knee print was found behind one of the tombstones, and one of the tombstones had her blood on it, along with a big crack. Now, they believe that she saw a light from a nearby farmhouse and went running towards it for help, and in the dark, she slammed into a fence post. She wasn't able to see it, and when she collided with the fence post, she knocked herself down, maybe even out. And at that point, whoever was chasing her was able to catch her. This is the spot where she was ultimately killed, and a detective that worked on the case said, "I've never been so passionate about anything I've worked on in my life. The thought of this young girl, just 15 years old, with such a bright future, being murdered in such a horrible, horrible fashion. You cannot help but want to do everything humanly possible to find out who did this." They assaulted her, and then they beat her to death by hitting her with a tombstone against her head. This would explain the blows to the forehead and things they found in the autopsy. This autopsy also showed that she had no drugs and no alcohol in her system. Initially, of course, the police focused on the ex-boyfriend, Sean, but he and several of his friends had left for Florida during the time that Jessica was killed, and DNA evidence cleared him from the case. I wasn't able to find out exactly what DNA evidence they found, but Crime Stoppers Anonymous and police put together a reward to find Jessica's killer. Jessica is buried 7 miles from the scene of her death in Sunset Cemetery by Route 40 in Franklin County, Ohio. Her sister says, "I try to imagine her older. I dream about that. I envision what her life would have been. But to me, she'll always just be my little sister." Chantel Lewis was Jessica's best friend at the time, and Chantel said she was beautiful. She had this sparkle in her eye, and you just knew that she was going to be something. 17 years later, based on DNA evidence taken from Jessica's body, a man was charged in this case. Marvin Lee Smith was arrested for abduction, assault, and murder. He had been charged with assault against 2 Columbus women, and he was out on bond when Jessica was killed. He was eventually convicted for the 2 Columbus attacks, and he served 9 years in prison. Since he was a felon, he had to submit his DNA, which led to a match in Jessica's case. In 2009, he confessed to Jessica's murder to avoid the death penalty. His details from the confession matched with that at the crime scene. He confirmed that he was the only person responsible. He revealed 70-pound tombstone to strike her over the head, and then he had tossed it over the fence where it was found. In February of 2009, he pled guilty to aggravated murder, kidnapping, assault, and he was sentenced to life in prison. And he will not be eligible for parole until 2038. I think that it is absolutely devastating to her family for this to have happened. This was completely sexually motivated. Sorry. He didn't even rob her of her jewelry. He didn't really, that I could find, give any sort of interview as to exactly what happened. Did he drag her in the car? Did he convince her to get in the car or tell her he'd take her to the mall? It just sucks. She was 15. She was trying to make her life back to what it was. She had such a bright future, and this was just completely unnecessary, and I think it sucks. He was out on bond. Why was he out on bond? Why do we let people like that out on bond? I don't get it. You know they're gonna do it again. You know this. This is another case to me where the police just absolutely failed someone, and it makes me so mad. I thought it was terrible that she was found in a cemetery. She almost made it, but it was just so dark. She ran into that fence post, and I bet that hurt. Poor thing. Who knows? If she would have made it to that farmhouse, would they have opened the door? Death by a tombstone. It's just crazy to me. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video.